Well, joyful, wonderful stuff, huh?
Can I learn how to play that next time?
And let's have a reading. I am going to give a reading today.
Okay.
It is from Giving and Forgiving. This is one of our pink books put out by the Brotherhood of the Followers of the Present Jesus, the present day Jesus. And I read from page 13. Never feel sorry for anything seemingly wrong that happened to you or that you caused to happen. But you will see in each thing a lesson that you learned, and so you will love this thing which you did. And in this way you will never have made a mistake. For you only did that which was yours to do where you were. You have only been yourself as you were. We are all sinners, as you say the word sin, in that we are all teaching ourselves in many ways. But we are all sinless, and that the teaching is good and that which we really need. We are all sinless, and that the teaching is good and that which we really need. So I will end it there. And sin, or, making, doing things and learning, right? So learning, failure is a way to success, right? It's a way to learn, to evolve, to go on, to become more Christ aware. And speaking today on the topic, learning failure as a way to success, as a woman who has just worked at and built up TIC in so many wonderful ways online and traveling here and there and teaching classes and of course contributing right here on site, including giving today's talk. So let's call on Reverend Marianne Kelley and we welcome her. Please.
Well, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So, it was interesting this morning, you were saying that the title was actually Failure as a Way of Success, and beginning to talk this title, I put down learning failure is a way to success. And that's what you did this morning in your reading. Awesome. Well, let's see. As an inventor, Thomas Edison made 1,000 in one place where I looked and 10,000 in another place where I worked. Unsuccessful attempts at making the light bulb, at inventing the light bulb. And when a reporter asked, how does it feel to fail 1,000 times? And Edison replied, I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps.
Wow.
With 1,000 steps. Now, having said that, I'm going to present to you, or propose to you, the thought that there's no such thing as failure. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's research. What else could we call it besides failure? There's research. Yeah. What else could we call it?
Learning.
Learning.
Testing.
Yeah.
Research.
This it doesn't work this way. Let's try this way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, in his 84 years, Thomas Edison acquired a record of some 1,093 patents, singular or jointly with others. The driving force behind such an innovation as a phonograph, incandescent light bulb, and one of the earliest motion picture cameras. He also created the world's first industrial research laboratory, which was known as and he was known as the what? The Wizard of Menlo Park, from New Jersey, from the New Jersey town where he was best known for his work. And Edison had become one of the most famous men in the world by the time he was in his 30s. In addition to his talent for invention, Edison was also a successful manufacturer and businessman who was highly skilled at marketing his inventions and himself to the public. Now, in his early life, well, he was born in February 11, 1847 in Milan, Ohio. He was the seventh and the last child born to Samuel Edison and Nancy Elliott Edison, and was one of four to survive to her adulthood. So he was one of a lot of them, and he's the one of them that survived. And he received very little formal education and left school at 1859. Let's see, he was born in 47, and he left school in 59. He was 12 years old. Wow, he didn't get a lot of education. But he began working on the railroad between Detroit and Port Huron, Michigan, where his family lived. It's a tough job, the railroad, as I understand it. 12-year-old started working on the railroad. Wow. Did you know by the time he died in October 18th, 1931, Thomas Edison had amassed 1,093 patents, 389 for the electric light and power, 195 for the phonograph, and 150 for the telegraph, and 141 for the storage batteries, 34 for the telephone. During the Civil War, Edison learned the emerging technology of telegraphy, and traveled around the country working as a telegrapher. He developed a serious hearing problem, which were variously, we don't know what caused it, and I don't think anybody else does either. But it put him at a disadvantage with that telegraph, because, ding, 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 ding.
Mm-hmm.
And so he began to work on inventing a device that would help make sure things possible for him to hear despite his deafness. So he put together electrical signals that could be put into letters. And in early 1869, he quit telegraphy to pursue invention as a full-time endeavor. So, as an inventor, let's see, he developed a telegraph-related products for both with and for Western Union Telegraph Company, and then went on to be a leader in the industry, and he also worked for the rivals as well. He developed a carbon transmitter, a device that improved the audibility of the telephone by making it possible to transmit voices at a higher volume. So you can see, a lot of his inventions were out of necessity, because he couldn't hear, so that everybody could hear more clearly. And nowadays we can put it on a speakerphone and everybody can hear it. At that same time, his work on the telegraph and the telephone led him to invent the phonograph. Did you know that was one of his too?
Mm-hmm.
So Edison's innovation with electric lights, and Edison's later years of invention included the alkaline storage battery. Did you know that he worked with Henry Ford to make the first battery for the self-starter, which was introduced in the Model T? I didn't know that. That correlation began a really good relationship between two great American entrepreneurs. And he worked into his 80s. So he rose from a poor, uneducated railroad worker to become one of the most famous people, one of those famous inventors, one of the most famous men in our folklore. For many other individuals, he was credited with building the framework for the modern technology and society in the age of electricity. And all of this was, this particular article that I took this from comes to us from the history.com. If you wanted to learn more about him, there's a lot more to be heard. That was just a little snippet of what he's done, and it was also published on A&E television network. So if you ever watch A&E, you might have seen some of that on there. So I heard this story, and I heard another story about him a long time ago, so I can't tell you who to credit this one with, but it was said that when he was in his laboratory, and he was maybe stuck on a certain thing, he would lay on his table, put his hands out on the side like this, and he would have his keys in his hand, and he would lay there and just kind of go into a light meditation. And when he heard the keys drop on the floor, you know, he realized he was relaxed enough to listen and pay attention to what was going on. Now, I think that he was listening to his higher self, which we call our Christ self, or I am self. So, I think that that's how he got beyond what others might have called failure, what I call research. So, how can do we ever have anything that we think is maybe a failure of some kind? Or have we ever felt like, you know, this just isn't working? I failed.
Mm-hmm.
I failed as a worker. I failed as a mother because my kids don't do what I think that they should do. Darn them. Or I have a husband who doesn't do what I think he should do. I mean, after all, I know. But, you know, frustration, you feel like you're maybe a failure, but you're not. Because number one, those people have nothing to do with us. They're their own people. Especially my children, they're adults now. They're going to do what they want to do in the manner they want to do it. And it's none of my business. Wow, what's that about? Anyway, so there is no such thing as failure. There's only research. And I know that when I get into that, I think about, okay, what's going on here? If something isn't working exactly as I'd like it to work, what's going on here? And I realize that probably it's not working because I'm pushing somehow. And I think, wow, well, let's stop pushing. Let's step back a little bit. Let's take it into, let's bless it. Let's bless the whole situation. Because this is the thing. I know what I bless blesses me. What I resist resists me. What I resist persists. And I don't want that. I don't want to have that resistance and that persistence. And you know, that's just time to put it aside. To give up the resistance. And I also know what I focus on is what comes about. So if I give up the resistance and change my focus, what's the next step?
Success.
Prayer. Let's say a prayer. Okay. Now what is it I think that I really want? Okay. So I go into I don't want to outline. I know that God knows exactly what's going on. God in me knows what it is that I want to, that I think I want to do. So I do my prayer for clarity, and then I go into meditation. And I invite you to think about this. When I take it into meditation, I do my relaxation. Okay. Of course, my hands are on my laps, open and receptive. And I give over to my higher self and trust. Trust that I will be guided to that which is perfect and right in this situation, whatever it is. And I know that as I trust, I tune into this love that's welling up from within. You know, when you go into meditation, you feel that total relaxation of the body, and you feel that love as it comes into you. And you feel that peace. And you feel that joy. And you feel that abundance of information coming through. And that's what we want to show up. And we know whatever comes after that, because we've dropped those keys being resistance, wrong focus, pushing. We've dropped those keys, and now we're ready to allow it to come out. And I pray, and the Spirit in me sees the success, sees the end of it, sees the fulfilled, and is planning it in my mind in the steps that I am going to be taking. Because there's more to it than just saying prayers and meditating. Then they have to do what you're guided to do. And so I ask, and I know that I will receive. So some things that I can do are to appreciate what's going on in my life now, to appreciate what I have, and then to go out and build something. The project that I want, go out and do something towards that. Connect with people. Connect with people. And do what seems to be difficult. Do it. Just do it. Yeah. Explore the possibilities. Forgive myself for not knowing a better way. And forgive anybody else who I think might have stood in my way. Because they really didn't. They're just showing me that, oh, I'm going in the wrong direction. This is some more research. So gather around people that can help you with it. And they seem to come into your life when you need something in a certain way. And it just seems that they show up when we're ready to do it. And just be. Know that you're loved. Know that that inner one just would lavish all the love on you that you could get. And listen. And bake a cake. Why not? Or a pie. Do something. Nourish your soul. Make a spiritual cake that just feeds you full of sweetness and goodness. Let go of any bitterness or any kind of thing like that. Just let it go. Read a book. See where I'm going with this? Take your mind off of the push. Let go of the push. Stretch. How about trying something new? Do something you've never done before. Whatever that is. Unplug from that struggle. Just unplug from it, yeah. And allow yourself to open up to that wondrous inspiration that's coming. And tonight, be sure to go out and look at the moon. Look at the moon. And look at that wondrous thing that's going to happen this evening. And think of God's glory. And it's all a part of who we are and what we are and what we're going to do. And get enough rest. Don't push. Just say yes to the adventure and put one foot in front of the other. And go sit out in nature somewhere. And marvel at all of this stuff of which we are a part. And let go of the struggle. What we ask, we receive. So all we have to do is ask. And be trusting that it's come. That it actually is here now if we open our eyes. How many times have we, I don't know about you, but I have done this. I have done my prayers and I've done my meditation and I'm waiting for it. When all the time it was already here. Has anybody else ever had that? Mm-hmm. It was just not recognized. So recognize the wondrous things that inner Christ, that God within, has placed before us. And practice an attitude of gratitude and watch more for which we can be grateful come into our lives. So, there's no such thing as failure. But it takes us to where we want to be if we look at it as research and do some of these other things. Get ourselves away from the push. And so we say, I have asked and I trust that I am receiving now. And so it is, and so we let it be. And I thank you, wonderful God, in all of us, and so it is.
Thank you so much.
Ooh, yeah, let's do that. We're going to go with Camel Dairy. Anybody else want to go? Camel Dairy?